Welcome to Mommy Space, the podcast for moms of all stages. My name is Aubrey Coots, and this podcast was created to give moms a voice to share their experiences and to share that there's not just one way to be a mom. This is a place where you can learn to love the woman inside the mother. Welcome back to Mommy Space. This is Aubrey, and today I am interviewing my friend Jen Zunigha, who is a sweet mama of three. And as you know by now, this month we're focusing on back to school. So far we've been able to interview Jen, whose kids are in private school, and Tiffany, whose kids are in a charter school. And today we're going to hear from Jen, who is homeschooling her kids. So we'll get to hear more about that today. So Jen, thanks for being on Mommy Space. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to pick your brain a little bit more on homeschooling and kind of what that's been like for you. I know I've been able to hear bits and pieces over the last few years, but it'll be cool to hear a little more specifically. So to start off, for those that don't know you, or for those that do, but maybe don't know all the pieces, could you tell us a little about yourself and your family and the story of your journey into motherhood?
Yeah. So my husband is Brian Zuniga, and we've been married for almost 20 years. And we had our first child, Charlotte, after about 10 years of marriage. And so we were pretty used to just being us. And so it was super great and fun, but it was definitely a change in our lifestyle. So Charlotte was born in 2010. So she's 9 now. And then she wasn't even a year old, and we started applying to adopt internationally from Ethiopia. And so we sent all the paperwork in. It's quite a process and long waits and stuff. So it wasn't until 2014 when we were matched with our boys, and then more paperwork has to happen and all this stuff. And we finally got a court date for the summer of 2015 to go to Ethiopia and meet them and adopt them there. And then more paperwork happened, and then our visa trip to get the boys was in July of 2015. And just Brian went. But anyway, so that's when they joined our family. And so that was Simeon and Moses. So now Simeon is almost 11, and Charlotte's 9, and Moses is 8. So We're doing 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade now.
That sounds similar to my future.
Yeah. So my journey into motherhood, it was probably different than most people, but the shock of going from one to more kids is definitely a lot. I'm sure you know that too. Like being outnumbered is just a different sort of hard.
Yeah.
So, but it's been really good. God's really grown me in lots of ways, and it's been a great journey.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure that going into the next question, how did you decide what kind of schooling was best for your children? So the boys came home, you said 2016?
15. So it was kind of perfect because Charlotte had just turned 5. So we were starting kindergarten with her anyway.
Yeah.
And so it actually was pretty easy to decide that homeschooling was best for us because we had these 2 new kids that we needed to get to know, and they needed to get to know us. And especially, going different ways every day to different classrooms and stuff would have not helped us, become a family quite as quickly. I mean, it probably would have happened just much slower. So
yeah, because the boys barely knew the language when they first came, right?
Right. So they knew about maybe 10 words of English.
Yeah.
So
it's a little overwhelming to be thrown into a school.
Right. So I didn't want to do that to them. Right. So we decided, we need them to be home to just understand what it means to be part of our family and just, become a family that year. So that was our goal that year, was to just become a family. And I mean, it was kindergarten. So we had stuff we did. We used a curriculum called 5 in a Row, which was really great, where you read a picture book every day, 5 days in a row, and think about different things from it to cover different subjects. And it was super fun. Math and handwriting and all the things. But we went to the park a ton and just got to play a lot, which was really good for bonding. And I got to, know Charlotte better and learn English. We read lots of books too to help them just hear the language and sentence structure. And I think that helped them a lot, just to be able to see the pictures and begin to understand different words and phrases and ideas. So somehow I taught them English. I don't know. It's kind of by accident. I was like, I hope this works. But it was a
Yeah,
really, that was it. It was pretty easy choice. Like, okay, this is pretty much the only best option for us right now.
right. Yeah, that's super cool. And I remember like actually I think through you I learned about like the library program that you could like request
Hmm.
books and they just have a big
Hmm.
stack. You're like, I
Yeah.
use this all the time and we can get how many books can your family get at a time because of all your
Oh,
library cards?
yeah. So I have a card in each of the kids. So we can get 25 per card. So we could check out 100 books at a time,
Oh my
which
gosh.
sometimes it feels like we're maxing out our cards. So,
I feel like with that environment of just like instilling like reading, like I don't
hmm,
know about the boys as much, but I know like Charlotte's a total reader. So that's like
yeah.
super cool to see that even from a young age, being like, we're just going to read all the time, like the importance of that.
Hmm. And it was really great because when the boys were littler, they had so much energy, which is totally great and normal. And so that's why we went to the park a lot and just would run and play and ride bikes. But even at home, they'd start bouncing off the walls. And so I would just sit down with a stack of library books, little picture books, and they would just come pile around me. And as long as I was reading, they would just sit there like glued to the book. It was amazing. So it was a way to kind of have some peace too.
Yeah.
um, and just kind of, if there was moments of chaos and I just needed everyone to be quiet, I could just start reading a book. So that was really helpful.
Yeah. I think that's like a good reminder to me. Like, I feel like I need to be better at just sitting and reading. Cause yeah, literally my children will be like bouncing off the walls
Yeah.
at certain points of the day. And I'm just like, how do you have so much energy? But they do love books. So that's a good reminder. Just maybe grab a stack and sit for a little bit and everyone will gather
Yeah.
around.
I had this little sign that I printed. I got it from a friend. She made this cute graphic, but it says, if all else fails, read.
Yeah.
And so I would have that. I had that up, just clipped up on the wall. And so I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that's the plan. So
Yeah. No, that's a great
it was
reminder.
good.
And it's like so simple, but yeah, like
Hmm.
really practical and good. Okay. So the next question I have for you is when or why would you ever reconsider a different type of schooling option for your children, I guess, in the future?
Hmm. Um, well, so we kind of chose homeschooling again just to become a family and be together, which I think is one of the blessings of homeschooling, is just being able to grow those relationships and have common experiences together and inside jokes that go along with science or history or whatever you're learning. And so it's cool just to get to live life with your kids. But I think I also like stumbled into why homeschooling is so amazing. Besides that, like just all the beautiful things you can show them and the extra things that just in like a normal classroom setting just aren't as doable. And so
Yeah.
one thing I love about homeschooling that makes me hesitant to reconsider like doing something else is just the way that we get to explore the world together, from like a biblical perspective, from
Yeah.
a Christian worldview. And so just even with science, like I love explaining like God made this, isn't it awesome? And just knowing they wouldn't hear it that way at public school, which is
Right.
basically our only other option. We can't afford private school.
Yeah.
So and that's, I mean, it's okay. I think eventually once they have a foundation in like who God is and understanding that he made everything and that's why it's awesome, is like, yeah, so after that foundation has been laid, which I don't know when that will be, maybe by high school they'll be ready to just go out. They really all talk about wanting to go to Poly High School here
Oh,
in
really?
town. Yeah, the public high school. And so that could be the best choice for them by that point. I don't know, but I really love getting to help them see the beauty of the world. And um, like with, like we do art study where we'll study a famous artist every month and like talk about stuff like that. Or we have a different composer every month that we will just listen to on the Alexa. You know, I'll just say play Beethoven or whatever.
Yeah.
So we choose a different like thing like that. So just things like that that I can integrate into the day that are just fun and beautiful. Or we do nature study where we'll go and look more closely at nature and enjoy that together and draw it or do projects with it. Like it's just, those are the kinds of things too that I don't want them to miss out on.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just, yeah, there's just so much more. I guess for me, I feel like I can provide like a richer education in some ways,
Yeah.
um, and a more, um, even in a more like peaceful environment, or I don't even know how to explain it. Like it's just the environment you can create in homeschooling, the atmosphere of love and encouragement. Or like, and even my kids, like they'll laugh at someone when they make a mistake but I'm always quick to be like, no, this is a safe place to make mistakes. Like, we don't laugh at each other. Like, mistakes are part of learning, and we need to, like, it's okay to make mistakes. We don't need to be mean about it, so just even getting to correct their character in those ways. So just the training that I want to be able to, hopefully steer them towards the Lord and, just having Christ-like character and stuff. But so anyway, that's kind of a long answer, but I would be totally open to them going to public school if we decide that was best for them. Like my oldest, I don't know, I think it's hormones and starting to become a teenager in some level. Like he gives me way more attitude and pushback of just not being teachable to me. And so at some point I'm like, okay, when does that become enough of a problem where, like you would do better at another school with other teachers that maybe you could respect, and then I'll just be your mom and help you with your homework if you'll let me. So so I think I do see that could work in the future, but I would prefer to keep being able to homeschool them and just give them that more like one-on-one attention, which has been good, especially for the boys, because they are still learning language. They'll still choose the wrong word or have trouble even with like math vocabulary, like remembering what does perimeter mean. Or
I still have trouble with that.
Right. So I think there is still a language delay, like kind of a language barrier still, even though it's not as obvious on the surface. It's still there. It still takes a little longer to process the language and understand, whether it's for math words or reading comprehension. Or so part of it too is I don't want to send them off to public school and then they just feel way behind or like a little slower and feel like a dumb kid or something, which they're totally super smart. They've learned English. Heavens, that's so difficult, right? So I'm always trying to encourage them with like the ways that they do show intelligence and, even if they're not getting this one concept. So I don't know. I just want them to have a positive kind of encouraging environment right now.
Yeah. And I'm sure that has like played a huge role in just how you've connected as a family and, like in the last few years, just of them being here and culturally acclimating, like all those things. Like I'm sure that that's been, like you said, it's like that's what made the most sense and that's what was best for your family. So
even for Charlotte, who is she's only ever spoken English. So even for Charlotte, I think homeschooling is a great choice for her too, just to be able to help her with her character or help her understand the Bible and appreciate nature and art and music and all the fun things like that. And give her time. And then she does love to read, so she has time to just go read a book for an hour if she wants every day, just to let her have time to play or be creative. Like we do art projects and she can just I don't know, there's just more freedom even for her to learn and develop in different ways.
That's super cool. I love what you said about just having time to like help develop their character. I feel like so right now, like Nehemiah is in public school and it so much of the day he's there, and so I think about that often where it's like, man, I really have to like be intentional about the time that he is home, because during the week it is just like a few hours in the afternoon, because he'll come home and he's wiped because he's still young. So he rests for a little bit. And then by the time he wakes up, we do homework and then we're getting ready for dinner. And then we hang out for a little bit and we get ready for bed, like it goes by so fast. So that is like a super cool aspect of homeschooling that I'd never really thought about, is just having, being with them all the time to work on that, not just academic development, but character development too. So that's super cool. Okay, so the next question I have for you is, and I feel like you've kind of touched on this a bit, but what for you is most important about your children's education and learning experience?
Well, I think the most important thing about their education is just, I really do want them to learn to see all of these subjects, whether it's math or science, history, learning to read, writing. Like I want them to see, I guess, the beauty of it and just the way that it will or can bless their lives. And I don't know, like I just want them to have wonder and learning and like a love of learning, which is super hard to make happen. I've been reading books about how to kind of spark that love of learning in your children. But I just want them to be able to just see the world that God made and appreciate it from that perspective. So I think the most important thing, of course, too, is their relationship with God and understanding that God made them and loves them, and that, of course, that they have sin, which is a problem. Like, we're going through our little Bible lesson curriculum this year from Truth 78, which is a Desiring God, like the kids programs. It's like a Sunday school book. So it's called To Be Like Jesus, but it's so great. So we're just doing one lesson every week, but the first part just totally starts with like, who is God? And like basically goes through the whole gospel of why we need Jesus to come and save us, So it's really cool. I love how that's laid out. And so that's, I think, the most important thing that I could communicate to them is just their need to trust Jesus as their Savior and Lord. And then I think too, as far as their education goes, like having confidence in themselves to be able to learn new things and to keep growing, and that they want to learn, finding that love of learning in whatever area so they can go on and enjoy their life and their career, that it would be something that they can do, something they can do to contribute to the world and enjoy while they, have a paycheck or whatever. But I think that, and just their character, of course, like we were talking about, in the workplace, which is where they're headed, right? They are going to be working with lots of different people. And so, right, like learning to respect people and to be kind and forgiving and gracious, and learning to trust God on a hard day, and, have patience and all those things. It's hard, like even as an adult, it's so hard to really walk in the Spirit and have the fruit of the Spirit come out in your life. So just to kind of be able to help them learn to interact with people in those ways is really important. And again, like just enjoying life. I think that's what I've learned a lot about, is just helping kids learn and do things that will be a blessing to them for the rest of their life. So whether it's scripture or just learning to enjoy music and play music, like playing the piano. We do piano lessons, which they don't always love, but I'm like, no, I want you to be able to do this later. If you want, like, this is your chance to learn this. Enjoy this for your rest of your life. Or sports, like they love soccer, that's something they could enjoy for the rest of their life, playing with friends, or we follow a classical philosophy of education primarily, not super strictly, but I also really love the Charlotte Mason philosophy. So you could look those up if you want to later and find more about those. But so we kind of do classical education, but inspired by Charlotte Mason, I would say.
Okay.
And so Charlotte Mason was real big on not talking down to children, but treating them as people and reading actual good books to them, not just, she called it twaddle, like the, just the dumb, like, I don't know, like Captain Underpants, that's silly twaddle, books. Right? Yeah. So silly books. And it's fine if they enjoy that, but you want to like read them actual good literature that they can, and they do, they appreciate it. I think my kids like being treated as if they're not idiots, that they can understand even like real science words. Like I don't dumb it down. I'm like, we can learn about photosynthesis and call it that. Like plants make food.
Yeah.
This is what they're doing. So just being able to communicate with them on I guess like a respectful level. Like, so Charlotte Mason was all about respecting children as whole persons and like real people that we're developing, but they're their own person. And I love that. And so it really encourages me to just let them become the person that God wants them to be, like they're all different and it's okay. And Charlotte Mason was also big on nature study and like having kids be outside and enjoying nature and just really looking at it and drawing it and seeing the beauty of God's creation and the way that inspires us to know and love God is really huge. And she also, there's so many things I've learned about homeschooling from the Charlotte Mason people, but let's see. Oh, the other one I like is handicrafts, they call it. So handicrafts are things like sewing or like carving wood, or I mean there's so many different things like that, but it's like a real skill. Knitting, crocheting, that kind of thing, more than just like glitter and glue as your craft, which is fun. Kids love glitter. We use glitter and things like that, but
Yeah.
Or like, you know, like, but no, like teach your kids to like knit, and that's something they can do for the rest of their life, and knit a scarf for someone's birthday present, you know, and that's like a totally useful thing. That's a blessing for them in their life. So I really love that part of education too. But it's hard because I was raised in a family, like my dad's a doctor and my mom's an accountant, and everybody, like even my aunts and uncles, I'm pretty sure all of them have college degrees. Like we're a
Wow.
very like educated family, and my granddad especially, he was like the president of this junior college for years and years. So he was always real big on like education is the key to your future, you know, and I totally agree with that. Like it opens lots of doors, right, to be able to do things. And so sometimes it's hard for me though to let go of like that traditional idea of education though, of like public school and how like making straight A's or like the things that the mold I was kind of pushed into as far as like just learning facts and spitting them back out on a test to show that I'm smart and can pass this class or whatever. But did it really stick, or did it inspire me? Like, is it something that is really helping me in my life?
Right.
You know, so it's been interesting to think about what is the purpose of education even, and like why. I mean, yes, I make them learn math and we go through grammar, but just finding the bigger purpose behind it, I think is really huge for kids to understand, like why we learn the English, like parts of speech, you know, like why do we need to understand the English language like this, you know? So, which it is hard to explain sometimes, but I'm figuring it out. How to find the bigger picture instead of just like, oh, so you can pass the test, you know, which we don't really even do tests hardly ever, because I can tell if they're learning it or not. But anyway,
man, that's super
a lot.
cool.
But
No,
but all those things are important to me, like just the total package of like, what are we learning and why, and is this wasting your time, or is this something that it's actually gonna bless your life later, like piano lessons, right? Like like that's something that hopefully will be a blessing to them for longer than, you know, this year. So
I took piano lessons as a kid and I hated it, and I'm really thankful now that I mean I'm not very good, but I'm thankful that I know how to play.
Right. Well, and you can use that gift to play at church and to use it to bless others, and or even just to sit down and play happy birthday on your kid's birthday. Like how special is that, right? To be able, and like my mom is really good at playing the piano, and I took piano lessons forever and ever and then quit in high school, and I'm real rusty. But I'm like, man, I wish I'd kept that up and could just sit down and play happy birthday to my kids like my mom did with us, you know?
That's super cool.
But that's okay.
Yeah. I loved how you talked about like just kind of instilling like this, like I don't know how you worded it, but like a love for learning or passion for learning, and just like all the various ways of doing that, and a lot of the freedom that you have to be able to do certain things because of the type of schooling that you guys do with your family. It was really cool to hear. All right, our next question is, and maybe this is kind of a weird way of wording it. This is how I've asked everyone else, but how do you balance mom life and school involvement life? So I guess for you, like what does a typical day look like? Do you feel like you're switching back and forth between like teacher mode and mom mode, or kind of this all-in-one package?
Yeah, it's hard to separate it sometimes. Like in the morning, you know, we get up and we're kind of doing our morning routine, and so I try to read the Bible first, at least for a little bit, just to kind of refocus, on who's really in charge and hear from the Lord. And so that helps, I think, just to start off with remembering, okay, like this is the job God's given me, to be a mom and then a teacher. But I definitely think the mom job always is primary. And then I'm a teacher, but sometimes I have to remind the kids that. So my oldest, he likes to just get his work done and then be done for the day. So even like I'll be trying to make breakfast and he's like, Mom, can I read you my sight words or whatever? And I'm like, well, how about we do that you know, after breakfast, right? Yeah, can we do that? Give me so I'm just a mom right now, I'll be a teacher in a little bit, you know. So it's funny how even it is easy to get blurred, and it's probably okay. I should probably let him read me sight words while I scramble the eggs. It's probably no big deal. But it's hard to separate that sometimes. So I think I think one thing that I have to remember too throughout the day is with, and I don't always do this perfectly, but like with being the mom, it gives, like, I really do love them in a way that's different than a teacher would. And so I mean, teachers love their kids kind of, but if someone's struggling with something, needs a hug, or maybe they just need some encouragement on a deeper level, like the mom role of just nurturing them and encouraging them kind of has to come first before, like, we have to finish this page of math, so
Yeah.
like choosing the relationship with the kid over finishing this math perfectly today. So that's something that I have to keep in balance too, even though I'm such a type A kind of person. Like, I want to get all the things done every day.
Yeah.
So, but just like, no, like, it's okay. Our progress can be slower some days. But just remembering to like try to communicate love and kindness and all of it. But our day kind of starts around after breakfast. They do their morning chores. We usually have breakfast at like 7:30, and then they kind of help with dishes, and they sweep the floor and take care of the dogs, brush their teeth, that kind of thing. And then at 8 o'clock, I start teaching the boys math, like Simeon first, and then Moses will work on something he can do by himself, and then I'll teach him math. Charlotte, she's not as awake in the morning, so her brain, I learned this, I finally this year decided not to make her start really learning until 9. So she can do whatever, and usually she'll do a couple of her schoolwork things before 9, maybe, but if she doesn't, it's okay. So at 9 o'clock, we all gather at the table, and that's when she's required to show up. So that's when we do our stuff together, and that's like, we have a hymn that we learn every month. We listen to that, and then do our little Bible study thing, and then just go through like our grammar lesson, like a couple of things we do together. It's fun. I try to make the morning table time kind of fun, but that's kind of how we start the day together. And then they have their little checklist they do and work on, and they kind of go around and help each person as they need help. Moses still needs help sometimes reading the directions for things or whatever.
Yeah.
So we work on that until lunchtime. Then I make lunch. That's what's hard sometimes, is I'm like, I'm also the cafeteria lady. Like, I never get a break.
I'm the PE teacher. Yeah, I'm the bus driver.
Yeah. So, but it's gotten easier. They help more now that they're a little older too, where they can, kind of help get things out. Or Moses loves to like cut things up. He loves it when I let him like slice up the cucumbers. He feels so big. He's using a real knife, not just a butter knife. Yeah. So it's really funny and cute. So, and then in the afternoons, we do either history or science. I have a read aloud book too. After lunch, we read a chapter in our like chapter book that we're reading aloud together, and then we do history or science. And then after that, we either do art or nature study, or I rotate. What else? Oh, games. Like, we'll just play Sorry or Uno or whatever game they pick.
Yeah.
That day. So that's like a loop kind of schedule. Just something I've learned, how to loop subjects. So one day is art, the next day will be nature study, and the next day is games. But like, if we miss a day, we just stay on that same loop. So it's just whatever's next. So it's really fun to rotate through different things like that. And so then by then it's about 2:30, and I kind of just help whoever needs to finish their writing assignment, or maybe, so they just finish up their checklists. We're usually done by 3 o'clock.
Nice. So it's still a full school day. It's not like you're like, okay, we're just going to knock it out in 30 minutes and hang out.
Yeah. So especially, I think, like kindergarten and first grade, you could get probably everything real done in the morning, like all this, all the main subjects, because we just are using which even now we do pretty short lessons. It's just a lot of little short lessons. So,
and you have 3 different grades, so you're like helping 3 different kids, complete all their stuff.
I know.
The next question I have for you is, what's a piece of advice that you would give a mom who's thinking through all the schooling options for her little one?
Well, I would just encourage her just to think about like what is best for their family in this season of life. And some moms are kind of afraid of homeschooling for different reasons. Some, maybe they're bad at math and they think, I could never explain fractions to my kid or whatever. So maybe just think about the barriers that you have, and then think through like, well, is that a good enough reason to not do this? Or thinking through like the pros and cons, I guess, of each option. I think what's nice too for our family, like we're super blessed that I don't have to work right now.
Yeah.
Like before Charlotte was born, I worked full time too, and then after Charlotte was born, I worked 2 days a week. And so but I was able to just totally quit once we adopted the boys, and just now this is my job, which is 100% a full time job. So I think sometimes people that don't maybe have that option, right? So that's okay. And our thing too is like we kind of reevaluate every year. So this year we decided, yep, homeschool is still the best option. We still think this is best for our kids and for the way we like a flexible schedule in life. And I don't want to have to help my kids with homework after school. I want to just take them to soccer practice and enjoy our evening. So so just thinking through like your schedule and what you want your life to look like. But there's no like right choice. It's just, like just know that you need to be involved in your kids' education, whatever that looks like. So so I would just think, pray about it, write it all out, and don't feel bad about whatever you choose. Just embrace it and go with it, and love your kids.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a great reminder. Like whatever you end up choosing, whatever's best for your family, you're still, whatever you decide, you're still a part of that decision and thinking through what's best for your kid. And just to continue to love your child well.
And homeschooling is really hard. Like it's really hard to be patient, and kids whine and fuss more with their mom than they would with any teacher at school, because I'm always like, well, it's because they're comfortable with me. This is good. It means they trust our relationship. They can whine and fuss, and I still love them, but it is hard. It's harder. Like they don't always respond the way I think they should when they're melting in a puddle of tears over some math problem. And I'm like, you would never do this in a classroom with 30 other kids, but they feel the freedom at home to just let all the emotions out. I guess it's good, right? It's a healthy, sure.
Yeah.
So it is hard. It's hard when you're like, okay. One article I read said that it was, like it's hard, but really parenting's just hard. Like anything you do is going to be hard. You just have to choose which hard you want. So like, okay, I'm going to choose homeschool hard, I guess.
Yeah, different levels of hard.
Yeah. So,
man, that's good. Thanks for sharing all of that. I feel like there's just so much good information in a lot of your answers. So I'm really thankful for everything that you shared and getting to share this with a bunch of other moms that are maybe considering homeschooling or maybe just want to learn more about what that looks like. I feel like sometimes, I don't know if you want to speak into this, and maybe sometimes this is valid to an extent. I think sometimes homeschooling can have this stigma that it's almost like you're like cheating the system because your kids don't do like real school. It's like, we just, like do a few math problems and then go to Disneyland or, whatever.
Field trips.
Like, where that's something I've really like respected and appreciated about like watching you over the last few years, like homeschool your kids is like, you're like, no, like I'm going to do this well and I'm going to teach them well and take this seriously because I want them to be educated. And so that's something I really do appreciate. And that's part of the reason I wanted to like interview you and ask you some of these things because I feel like, you have chosen homeschool hard, but you've also done it really well and really graciously. So thanks for what you shared. I really appreciate it.
For sure. Yeah. I think too, like I was saying with my family being big on education, I think that is why I take it seriously, I guess, in a way. And I know that, like I want my kids to be able to go to college and study whatever they want and know that they can do it and be ready for that, because I think, man, I don't want to cheat them out of, like if I'm lazy and don't really teach them well after I've signed up to do this, that's really not fair to them,
Right.
So if you're not willing to like put in the hard work and at least try to, introduce them to different concepts and things that will prepare them for a life and a career of, like if they want to go off and be a doctor, like, are they equipped to go to college and study those things, So not like you don't have to like do it perfectly, but like just giving them the confidence to like be like, yes, science, I can totally learn that, or math or whatever. Like, can they go and be an engineer? Yes, absolutely. Even if that's not what I chose to do, like I can
Right.
educate them and prepare them to be ready to go and do that in the future. So
Yeah. I know that earlier you said you're like, I have a very like type A personality. And I know like from even Brian, like seeing your schedule in college, like you have a very disciplined side of your personality, which is really great. Do you feel like that's been really like helpful and valuable to kind of like already have been like that in now homeschooling your kids? Or do you think that
um,
personalities doesn't necessarily like play not, I mean, I'm sure it
yeah.
plays a factor, but do you think that it's like, oh, probably only certain personalities should be homeschooling? Or do you feel like any type of
Yeah.
personality would be able to if they wanted to try that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think any personality could homeschool just fine. And really, like, it's cool because you, when you think about yourself as the mom of your kids, like God made you their mom on purpose, and so your personality and your style, like that's who you are, and so that's going to come out in your homeschooling. Um, but the way that we lesson plan and make a plan at the beginning of the year and lay it all out, it kind of just gives you a track to run on. And so yeah, some moms are more like, oh, whatever, we didn't do as much science this week as we were going to. Yeah, like it, who really cares? But are you, do you have a plan? Are you trying to work forward in subjects and introduce your kids to, the variety of things there are in the world to learn,
Right.
and not just ignoring things because you didn't like it in school. So if, yeah, if you're like honestly trying to go through things and introduce them to, yeah, to all the subjects, I think you'd be just fine, and you would, yeah, you'd have a great time homeschooling your kids. I think the people who maybe struggle with organization, maybe you just need to get someone to help you, like plan it out and organize your shelf, your
Yeah.
homeschool shelf, or like
And then
how
stick to
to,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
how to get your kids' books in order and then use them. So
Yeah.
most people probably would totally do it just fine in whatever way they wanted to organize it. So it's
Totally.
it's really fun, just the flexibility of it.
Yeah. And even as I was asking you that question, I was thinking about like
Mm-hmm.
different, moms that come to mind that have very different personalities that are all homeschooling their kids well.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah, it's good to hear that and be reminded like it's not like you have to have this type A, super organized, super structured personality to be able to homeschool your kids. Like if
Yeah,
that's something that you really desire and want for your family, it's possible. Just maybe with a little
totally.
help. So the final question that I have for you is what is the legacy that you want to leave for your children?
I think that as a mom, like it's such a privilege to get to raise kids. And it is just one season of our life. It doesn't have to completely define us as a person, right? But I think the legacy that I want to leave for my kids is um, just knowing and trusting God and being able to help others to know God and follow Him. I think
Yeah,
is so important in the world, and um, just learning to read God's word and know Him and trust Him. I think life is hard, so I don't know what hard things are going to happen in my life or in my kids' life in the future, right? But there's just the ups and downs of life, and I just want them to know that the Lord is with them and He is good and that He cares for them and that they can totally trust Him, whatever happens in their life. So I really think my kids know that I'm not perfect. Obviously, we're together all the time. They see me lose it and have to apologize and ask forgiveness. And I'm glad about that though, because I want them to see like I'm not a perfect person, but I'm still trying to trust God and follow Him. And so I hope that encourages them for their life that they don't have to be perfect, but that God, is worthy of trying to follow and obey, and we want to love God with our life. And so it's just, I don't know, it's cool to be able to walk through life with them and
yeah, that's really good. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, my little ones are all awake and just staring at me now, waiting for me to be done, which is the reality of having a mom podcast. So it
for
happens.
sure.
But
For
thank you so
sure.
much, Jen, for letting me pick your brain on all the different things. And I feel like I learned a lot and got a lot out of it. And I'm excited to share this with everyone that listens. So thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to check out all of the goodness from today's episode on the show notes and share this with a friend if it impacted you in any way. You can also leave a review on iTunes so other mamas can join in the movement of loving the woman inside the mother. Join our online Mommy Space community every day by following us on Instagram at Mommy Space, that's MOMMI space, where you can interact with me, some of our past guests, ask simple or hard questions, and give your valuable input on how to make Mommy Space an even more beautiful, safe place for mamas all over the world. All my love to you, mama. You are enough.